Rah! Evening, guys. Just thought was out walking the dogs, and I had a few ideas sort of go through my head. Start with that Queensland freshwater fishing comps. I know I said I wasn't doing comps this year, but I've got a window. Ask the missus. There's no animals being bred. She's got nothing on that particular weekend, so there's no stress going on, and therefore going to get away and do that one. I think it's, well, whatever it is, early July, 14, 13, 14, 15, something like that. Did it last year, and if you haven't done one of Paul's comps, definitely have a go at one. This one in particular I liked more than most last year because of the camping aspect. The dinner last year was in town at a pub, which was really cool. But this year it's at River Run. There's a hip camp there that's got access directly to the river. It's got its own, probably, I don't know whether everyone will use that boat ramp or not, because it just looks like a gravel one, or whether they'll put their boats in up at the other camp spot and bring them down and leave them in for the couple of days. I'm not really sure how Paul intends it to work, but whichever way, even if it was to drive the 10Ks back around and put your boat in, it's only 10Ks. Probably not a lot different to a little bit further than, I suppose, running from in town. But in town we were camped outside the pub in the main street sort of thing. You can camp in that, not the main street, one of the back streets. So definitely have a go at it, or have a think about it. River, it's very much like our rivers down here, as in Brisbane. It's big trees, deep corners, bit of dead stuff in it. There's rocky shelves, that style of thing. Last year it was one on, people did well in many areas. The overall bite was a spinnerbait bite. That's how I caught my fish, and I caught 2 on jigs, that's pretty cool when you slow hop on a jig under a tree or whatever, and you feel it, that fish pick it up, blah blah blah. So that's a really cool. The other ways, they had vibes up one of the creeks, and that's where Braden and the young fella from Jackal, anyway, forget his name for now, with his dad and his brother. That's where they were headed up each day. So there was a little bit of a group that all went to this one particular spot. I didn't quite go up that creek far enough. You can go up it a fair way. I think I estimate about 9Ks you could go up it. So, but the arena's huge. You can go from the barrage, and there's basically your first part of the river back up to, I think it's Bells Creek campground, and then there's a set of rapids you can drive up. All the speedboats got up it, and you just had a little tight section around this broken. There's a lot of bamboo and shit, but they've managed to get around it. And then there's a top pool, which then goes up. It's like stepping up sort of thing. And it finished where it ran into that pool. If you went up the week before and dug it out, you could probably get through in a tinny like mine, with the motor right up and just float it through, and then get into the next pool. It may be different this year, I don't know. But yeah, there's, good. They're not massive bass. I think the biggest I got was mid-40s, and they're all sort of look like river bass with that bit of gut tuck going on. That was spinnerbaits, jigs, and then I'm pretty sure it got one on deep cranking, a shelf in the river. Now, I went past them where they were doing that. I actually had to pull up, and because it's quite narrow, so wherever you see people that are sort of in your zone, you sort of got to slow down and ask them which way to go, motor around them. But then there's big areas that are wide enough that you can go, full noise past someone that's fishing a bank, and it doesn't disrupt them too much. So I just wanted to talk about that. That's well worth it. I think it's $25 a night for the hip camp camping, and then whatever it costs for Paul's comps. There's membership of, I don't know, $60 to $80. I fortunately paid mine at the start of the year and then decided not to do it, so I've still got that membership there for the year. And this is just a comp that I enjoy, and they put on a great dinner and a great bunch of guys. So it's, if you treat it as a dinner and 3 days of fishing, it's pretty good value, even if it's not a comp. So if you don't know how they work, they do a morning, so I'll do the pre-fish on Friday, which I would imagine they'll drop it on at tiaro. They did it last year. They said no pre-fish. I think you're allowed to motor it, but they'll make that up as it gets closer. But generally it's just travel up there and on the Friday and get set for the next day. It's 3 sessions, 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. So it brings your fish numbers up. So you can go 2, 2, and then 2 on the Sunday morning. You kind of finish there by 12:30, 1 o'clock. I think I got home just on dark, but it was August last year, so a bit later. So this time I dare say it'll be dark before you're getting home on a Sunday, but most of after lunch is pretty much just hanging out. Hanging out waiting for presentations, that style of thing. Normally enough time to get your boats out. I had enough time to get totally tidied up, changed and tied down, ready to bolt, and had a couple of pieces of leftover cake that they put out all the food again on the, or if there's anything left over, trying to get rid of it before they travel home. So yeah, well worth it if you if you're interested in trying that. And the little tinnies are fine, as long as you got a live well, and you know, my 30 horsepower is fine. And there's, can't think of his name. He was doing the electrics anyway. Young fella with a little tiny boat, and he's running a 20. There's a few others that run sort of smaller stuff. Most of it's 80 horsepower and up, but in that river it's not much of an advantage, apart from you can get to one end to another quicker, but when you're in amongst all the trees and fucking around, it's not that much of an advantage. So that's that one. On the conversation today with the cod. I've never fished Copeton, never fished Glen Lyon. Done Leslie a few times. I've caught, probably out of the 7 or 8 trips that I've done there, varying times, I've caught 2 cod. Never really pushed for them. The first time was trolling, back when I had just the little 4 Elite Lowrance, and we were just trolling in whatever water. Pulled, I don't know, 60, 70 centimetre fish out of all the yellows that are in there. Caught plenty of those. And then, yeah, got that little one there. I think told some of his the story about it. And that's pretty much just live scoping in the fog. One morning, put in, just went out for the day. Super foggy, like Ivanhoe gets. And yeah, went out, had maps, so sort of worked myself over to a point, and then was just getting disorientated with the swirling fog and shit. So put live scope down and just started looking around, and I found this school that was doing its sort of thing along the bottom, and then I noticed this one fish just darting through it. I had a blade down. You could see him responding to the blade then, like it took over from the bait. He was just like switched on, then bang on. I'm like, whoa, thinking it was a yeller, and it was I don't think I measured him. I might have, but it would have been a 30, 35 maybe. Little cods, that was pretty cool. The rest of the day, yeah, went skint. It was windy. It was tenon stained. It was after flood. Like last year, they were getting lots of rain out there, so wasn't ideal conditions. Whereas it's probably settled a lot now and probably got some weed growth around the edges. On those eastern banks there, you get big amounts of giant Vallisneria, the ribbon grass that gets to, I don't know, metre to 2 metres long in that water out there, which forms big beds out into 3 metres, and so it gives you an edge you can fish, stuff like that. I have never fished there at night, but I think it would be probably a good night fishing dam. There are cabins and that at one of the camp spots across from the boat ramp, but I normally go to Washpool and just camp there, because you can have your camp, put your boat in. It's a fair way away where your boat goes in, but I normally put it in and out, just drag it back to camp. Winter's normally pretty good for not a lot of people. It's a big ski dam, so blah blah blah. But yeah, then I got thinking, Pindari, I used to go there a lot, a long time ago. Never caught cod in the dam. Used to boat to the river that comes into it, Severn, and where Michael and I would hike up, leave the boat and we'd hike up. We both caught meteries there one morning. Spotted another one. There's limited water above that you can go to, and there is that feeling of leaving your boat behind, which is a little bit weird. Back then, it was just a boat with a motor, and I don't know, you just hope no one came up and took it on you. But it is a bit of that weird, spooky country down there. So, but in saying that, we did fish the dam around the edges, and I did get smashed a fair bit by stuff I couldn't stop. No sonar back then apart from the fucking hummingbird with fish signals and no electric motor. So, you'd fucking primitive. You'd put it into a pocket and those big lures would drag you around. You just long cast and you just keep working at one tree and work over to it, sort of thing. So, but we used to fish the Dungeons, which is now part of Quayamble National Park, which is downstream. Used to be a four-wheel drive track in there, and once you got there, we never encountered other people as far as camping. We never went when it was like busy weekends, but we would drive down there at arrive in at 12:30 at night, sort of thing, and set up camp, have a few drinks, and then get up and fish those morning, afternoon. We'd fish all day, but the bite times were always morning and afternoon, and then again Sunday morning, and then bolt home. I've fished it for one day and driven home. Just became an addiction to go down there because it was pretty cool. So, but yeah, open to going to Coperton or somewhere like that. Open, that's what I am. I'm just open to doing that sort of stuff. Cool Munda gets a good review every now and then too. Now it's not that much further out of Warwick. Little dam, probably, it'd probably scope up pretty good. Probably be a really good live scope dam where you could probably chase 80s and 90s around. Because when you hear them start getting on a bite, like they seem to catch a few. So that could also be a consideration. If we I was pretty tempted to do a run down for my family, like as in down to Pindari, just to get used to it again, because I got my boys that are now 21, 20, and whatever, 15. They're not so much keen on the fishing, but they remember those trips. Don't know where it is because I was so young, that sort of thing. I took them a couple of times. We'd go down and bank fish Quayamble National Park in deep water, and then we'd stop at Bonshore and just fish the bank, or we might take a little tinny and just push it around in there. And like that's where you get those That's the water coming out of Glen Lyon and heading west to Gundawindi. So you get that irrigation water that they're releasing out of Glen Lyon, little flows, and you get those river fish that are maybe 50s. You know, you probably get bigger fish, but just about everything we got there was always 20s to 50s. Good fun because it's, you know, little rapids and stuff like that. Small fishery. Certainly not somewhere that you can put and fish a lot of area in our boats, because you've got to go up rapids and stuff like that, or down, or you're restricted to a certain hole. So yeah, you know, as I said, open to heaps of ideas, but definitely have a look at that tiaro round of Queensland fishing, Queensland freshwater fishing tournaments. And yeah, anyway, I was just going to pop this up on the messenger, and so I could get a bit of info out there. But yeah, that's all I got. See yous.